The DJI Goggles 2 headset. The Avata is compatible with two headsets, the DJI Goggles V2, the one that came with the DJI FPV, and the brand new DJI Goggles 2. The names are close, a little too much, there will inevitably be confusion. Note that I did not test the Avata with the Goggles V2, the firmware was not ready to ensure compatibility. It is therefore exclusively with the Goggles 2 that I conducted my tests. The Goggles 2 helmet is smaller in height, approximately 8 centimeters, and lighter than the Goggles V2 with 397 grams on the scale. The head strap is a single headband, no need to harness yourself with a triple headband. More compact. There are only two antennas, visible, foldable by about 40 degrees, which allows them to be left in place for transport. They are still removable, just pull them out of their housing. They are connected with a connector which I have not identified, similar to the MMCX but a little larger, which suggests the future availability of alternative, possibly more efficient antennas made by third-party manufacturers. The screen is an OLED model with high brightness and definition of Full HD. These are the most impressive FPV goggles I have the opportunity to put on. High brightness, yes, so much that I never needed to push the brightness setting all the way, even when using it in direct sunlight. Big screen, yes, it feels like sitting in the second row of a cinema. Two interesting details. First of all, the screen turns off automatically when you remove your face, thanks to a sensor present inside. This makes it possible to reduce consumption and therefore autonomy and to increase the lifespan. Then DJI provides a cover that protects the lenses during transportation and storage. It's convenient to avoid to burn the screen by exposure to direct sunlight and to reduce the accumulation of dust. This cover is fixed simply by pushing it in contact with the lenses. Lens settings. The DJI Goggles 2 helmet offers two mechanical settings. There is the interpupillary space, the distance between the eyes and therefore the lenses, and the diopter. The first is done by sliding two knobs to the right or left, each independently from 55 to 72 millimeter. And does it work? Yes. And it's necessary because the size of the screen does not make it possible to be freed from preliminary adjustment. To tell the truth, with the foam supplied as standard, I never obtained a perfect setting. There is always a small piece of screen missing. Also, the headset tends to slide down over my nose, obscuring the lower part of the screen where the telemetry data is displayed. That said, by raising the helmet higher on the nose, the vision is perfect, but all body types are different. The solution, at least for my face, will probably be to wait for props to offer alternative foams of different shapes. Removing and replacing the foam is easy. It's hung with a plastic plate fitted with small lugs. For the second setting, the diopter, you have to turn the dials again independently from -5 to +2. This allowed me to get perfectly sharp image when I, due to my advanced age, became farsighted and unable to use the Goggles V2 helmet without corrective lenses. Great news. If the correction is insufficient and unsuitable, DJI delivers two additional lenses which come to rest on those of the helmet. It's up to you to have the lenses made by a specialist depending on the correction you need and to insert them into the lenses. Note that with these lenses, you can no longer use the lens protection cover. DJI has taken up the principle of the small battery to be charged in USB-C with a cable that ends with a DC connector. These cables measure 72 centimeters with a twist central part. Theoretically, this makes it possible to lengthen it, but in practice it's not very reassuring since the socket on the side of the helmet is not secure. It holds better than that of the Goggles V2 helmet, but it's not enough to be serene. On the other side, the USB-C socket is equipped with a lug which is inserted into the battery itself, now equipped with a notch. The cable is secure on this side. Once again, the prop designers will be able to offer alternative arrangements. The DC plug of Goggles 2 is not compatible with the one of the Goggles V2. The diameter is smaller. The Goggles V2 battery on the other end is compatible with the Goggles 2 cable with USB-C pin. but this ergot risks over time eventually breaking. This is not catastrophic. The power supply will always work and there will simply be one less security. The props designers will be able to provide more effective solutions. Note that the headband does not allow the battery to be fixed, which would undoubtedly be too heavy with its 120 grams. The touchpad. On the right side of the headset is a touchpad for managing headset settings. A raised dot indicates the center of the pad. The operation is quite simple. Touching with the valid finger, dragging the finger moves the cursor, and touching with 2 fingers goes back. A long press with 2 fingers unlocks the keypad. From the home screen, you can access the main settings by sliding your finger to the right. Camera settings are achieved by swiping up. Recording and tracking, HDR, boost, and brightness can be accessed by swiping down. With touchpads, it takes a little time to master the gestures and navigate the menus without false manipulation. The one of the Goggles 2 helmet is no exception to the rule. The first steps are hesitant, but you get used to it pretty quickly once your fingers instinctively land in the right place. I still started and stopped recording on several occasions because I mishandled rewinding with 2 fingers. In use, it works, but I remain convinced that mechanical buttons are more effective. Note that the touchpad is disabled when the screen is off. DJI Goggles V2 headset compatibility. The Avata is compatible with DJI Goggles V2 helmet, the one sold with the DJI FPV. This requires updating it with a recent version of its firmware. During my tests, this firmware was not available, so I could not use the Goggles V2 headset with the Avata. According to the datasheet, it allows recording up to 120 FPS in 2.7K and 1080p, and it will have to be checked with the final firmware.